Well, the side that's captured everyone's hearts and is on the brink of the quarterfinals is Fiji. And we can have a chat now with their head coach, Simon Raiwalui, joins us. How are you, mate?
Good. Just back from training. So, yeah, looking forward to joining you in a really good conversation with the boys.
Mate, Skipper, it's great to see you. The glory days at Saracens when you were Skips, I was vice-captain. We won't go there. Long time ago. How good's the World Cup been so far for you? I mean, people talked about Steve Borthwick taking over pretty late. I think you took over after him. But the impact that you boys have had, how's the camp? The boys must be buzzing in terms of where you're at and how much Carver has been drank. That's all I need to know.
No, we try to stay away from the car. It's not the best for training and recovery. No, but the boys have been great. We came in 13, 14 weeks ago, and obviously it's been a long campaign, and we've worked on a number of things, but we've stuck to the basics. And to be fair to them, they've been really good. And the team spirit's good. It's been driven really well by the senior leadership, and they're getting the rewards for what they're doing. We still got a bit of a way to go, so yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, we don't want to get too excited. Everyone's talking about Fiji as their second team, if not their first team. What's been the shift, Simon? Because we've seen over the years, Fiji, loads of different coaches, the political landscape and everything that's gone on. I kind of felt when you got the keys to the kingdom that it was definitely going to work because of your heritage there and your understanding of the culture. And that's exactly what seemed to happen. I'm not asking you to talk yourself up, but what has been the shift in mindset for Fiji? Why are you so much better now than you have been and got this more all-round game?
Yeah, I think the first thing we looked at was our culture. We got back to what's been important for us. So we targeted that first week. We went back. We went to an island called Taviuni. It was pretty grassroots. No fancy 5-star hotels. We were sleeping in a hall on mats next to each other. Simple food. Just training on the ground out the front of the accommodation, and we got back to what was important to us, and it was a reconnection of to where we came from, the people that were important to us that got us there, and it was a reconnection with each other. And I think it was a real important base for us to get in there. It was a good start as well to get them fit, because obviously we come from all parts of the world, different programs, and that getting that fitness base in there was really important. But I think the first thing we touched on was really that cultural side and a connection to where we're from and who we're playing for, and that was really important.
And going back to that camp, mate, we saw the videos of the boys going up the hill, arm in arm, and it looked, I'm not going to lie, it looked like hell, trying to get up that muddy hill. I need to know, as the leader, did you lead from the front and have a go as well, Si? Or did the knees not hold out?
No, so actually we all had to get up the hill to start off with. But I tactically took photos 3 times up the hill just to get landscapes, but more to get a minute's break and get the heart back down under 100. But once I was up there, I wasn't coming back down until we were leaving. But the boys were outstanding. They had a massive shift up the top of the sand dunes, and the actual that last bit that you saw where they were singing, that was their choice to go back down and finish arm in arm, and it just showed the real camaraderie between the group, and it was quite emotional standing up the top, seeing them come up. So it was a real good point for me. But I did not join in the session.
Yeah, I got goosebumps listening to you talk about that. Not going up the hill. Actually, if your knees are bad, getting up isn't the issue. It's coming back down. So smart when you do that. Look,
exactly.
Some of the stuff, Simon, that I'm banging about on social media, growing the game or all that, I put a tweet out about Taggy, actually, and his quick tap penalty at the weekend overlaid with some music. I love the way that your team play, always have done, always will do. But one thing that's always spoken about is Fijians are built differently, the athleticism. You'll know this firsthand, but to share with our audience, we see it from the outside looking in. You've been at Saracens, you've been over in Paris. Are we right in saying that you guys are built differently? Just tell us a little bit more about the natural genetics and athleticism you have. Not you, the lads.
No. Goodey came to the test. I'm probably the only Fijian that was fast and ran on diesel. So I love the tweet with Luke Tongue. It was poetry in motion. It was a big man, athletic man, just being able to shift like that, and you can see the body moving different ways and being able to take that contact. But in all seriousness, we have been blessed with some amazing God-given talent in terms of the physical attributes, speed, size. But we're starting to touch onto those other things where we're getting that the ability to play for that 80 minutes, getting that base there. So we've got some amazing athletes through the forwards, through the backs. That we're lucky. I think it's the sun and the sun and this food and the Pacific that blesses all the islands with the really good genetics.
Yeah, 100%. Now, obviously, you talked then about going for 80 minutes and sort of you always had the ability to rip a game to pieces and carve up. But in terms of game management and stuff like that, a man that I've got a massive amount of respect for in your coaching team, Glenn Jackson, who's been there, done it, refereed it, is now coaching it as well. What sort of impact has he had on sort of tempering that natural ability, the Fijian way, but also the understanding? Let's look at the Australia game. It wasn't for a neutral, a Fijian expected performance in chucking the ball around everywhere. It was game management 101, how to beat a proper team and perform in that way. How big an impact has Glenn had amongst all the other coaches? Because I know you're not going to take all the pats on the back yourself. I'm sure you're really appreciative of everyone else's work, but he seems to have had a massive impact.
No, Jacko's been great. Obviously, that contact with the Drua. So he's been with the Drua for 2 years now, 2 seasons, and had that contact with those 18 players that have come over. So he's in fact, you know what he's like as a player. He was a great player, great rugby mind on him. So he's got a real gift with connecting with people, and that's the important thing with Fijians and Pacific Islanders is that connection. If you get the connection right, the boys will do a lot of things for you, and they'll work through a lot of things. And so Jacko has been working really hard for the last 2 years the last 3 or 4 years with the Flying Fijians, 2 years with the Drua, and he's brought a lot of that quality through. So he was always born to be a referee as well. So when he played, he liked to talk and liked to argue with the referee. So it was a natural transition for him. But that career that he had in refereeing has been very, very important for us. So he's been able to give us what it's like from the referee's side, what sort of pictures we're needing to be able to paint in terms of being on the field. And I think our discipline, touch wood, has been really good, and it's gotten a lot better and improved every week. So, yeah, I can't understate how important his contribution's been.
Simon, looking at this team and the way it's performing and catching everyone's attention, do you think this is like a generational thing? Like, is it this team, or is there new pathways or something going on in the background that's got this team and the resources to where they are at the moment? Do you see like a movement in the way that Fiji play and where they're heading, as far as could they win a World Cup in the next sort of few cycles, or this one?
Well, I definitely think this is for the long term. I think there's been a good progression through the pathways. We've got a very healthy academy system that provides talent, not only for Fiji but for a lot of other places as well.
Hell yeah!
So that talent being able to go into the Drua, being able to play professional rugby, 35 to 40 players within our Super Rugby system, being able to live at home, just adds to our pathways. So I think we're getting the results of that already. You see the players that are involved with our squad now, but I think by the next cycle, 27, 31, that's where you're going to see the real benefit of what the Drua brings to us. And then you splash it in with the guys that are playing at the highest level within Europe and Japan. I think it's built for the long term. I think, obviously, I love this group. This group's amazing. We've got some amazing talent within there. So I do think this is a very special group, but I do think it's built for the long term.
Headline question around being in the championship. Is it something that's been bandied about? How are you as a coach? I know you're thinking about the World Cup, but I also know that you have a mind about going forward as well and how you come out of this. There is an argument now, isn't there, with some of the results that you've had about Fiji being in the championship. It kind of makes sense for a number of reasons. Is these discussions happening? Do you have a view on that as you come out of the World Cup?
Yeah. I think, like in my previous role and still doing part of it, is GM high performance. I've been involved in those conversations, whether it's APAC or going into new competitions, matches played against the developed nation, tier one nations. So they've been involved in those conversations. So the thing that's important for us is not to get in front of ourselves, not to get to think of that. If we look after the things such as results, our rankings, get our infrastructure right, making sure everything's right at home in terms of administration. We put ourselves in the window to be get a position if it does come up. So I think it's really important that we look after the short term, and the long term will look after itself if we do the right thing.
Are the discussions happening though, Simon? Is it moving towards that way though?
Yeah, well, there is definitely discussions. We've got obviously a new competition hopefully coming up in terms of the APAC with Asia Pacific, Americas, that coming up. But I think long term, we obviously want to get into that higher echelon of competition, as do other teams in similar positions to us. So those competitions are having. Sometimes they're at a very high level, but they are happening, and hopefully that the teams that put their front foot, their best foot forward, to get rewarded.
Yeah, well, that's the thing around that tournament, mate. Again, not for you to say it, but you've beaten England, you've beaten Australia, you came close to beating Wales as well. Not that you want to sit here and say that you're better than the American teams, but you kind of are, and then that's the thing, and we're happy to say it.
Yeah, no, we just So it's been always my philosophy. You just do your work in the background, and then the results will come for you. If you go chasing those results before you've actually performed that, then you trip yourself up. So yeah, we're just looking at the short term, look after what's in front of us, and then hopefully the rewards will come.
Well, we're going to come on to the World Cup in a minute, because I've got another question just around you and Fiji and the players. You mentioned then obviously the Drua, but you've got all the world class players playing in Europe as well, in France, Japan, and obviously there's a fair few in England. In terms of global season, for you, and we've seen it with Samoa as well, how difficult it is, and Tonga, for them to get everyone together and play enough games. Is that something that is now a necessity, where we have a global season, where we get clarity on players when they're playing in France or England or Japan or Super Rugby, and then there's a clear pathway? Because we've spoken to many Pacific Island players, and it's a really tough, we all know it's a really tough decision. They want to play for their country, but also there's pressure on them from the clubs and the contracts and all that stuff. Is it something that we have to do it as soon as possible to get a global season, to align everything so that there is that pathway for, I read Tonga have only played, is it 13 games or something like that in between World Cups, which is madness.
Samoa was 11.
Yeah, and it's just, to me, it's just not fair when a lot of the bigger nations are playing 20-odd games.
Yeah, it's one of the hard things. Obviously, not just us, but Samoa, Tonga, those countries that rely on other competitions, they're playing in competitions that are obviously not in our season. So we have the two windows, the July window and the November window, where either way, we're either flying up to Europe with 1 week's preparation, or our boys are flying down to the Pacific for 1 week's preparation. So six matches a year is normally what we're allocated. With the Drua, we're starting to get opportunities, maybe playing outside the window. We've got 35 to 40 contracted players that are essentially contracted that we can look after. But ideally, it would be awesome to have access to your players during a window where everyone is available. But having played in Europe, I understand what the clubs need as well in terms of their investment into the players. And we've been lucky with the clubs. They've been very good. They've worked with us with their players. We've worked with them to keep them updated, because they're obviously very important to them. So yeah, it's a bit of a balance, because we are obviously playing within the Drua. It's good that our players get that opportunity to play and earn money, but realistically, the big money where they're going to change their life is going to be 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line after they play for the Drua and they're making money in Europe, which is obviously the euro and the pound is a lot stronger, and they look to come over here. So for at the moment, we still got to work within those parameters, making sure that they're looked after, but also making sure that we're looked after in terms of what we need as a national program.
Just looking at the now, Simon, seemed like the team was a little bit off against Georgia. I know they were fighting for everything, but just emotionally a little bit off. What's been said? What was the evaluation of the game?
Yeah, it was more how good Georgia were. I think the first half Georgia were amazing. They tactically came out and saw where our strengths were, and attacked us there. They attacked our big ball runners with 2-3 tacklers and got us on the gain line. We didn't help ourselves in terms of ball control, turnover. We turned over a bit of set piece at the line out. So the first half was a really tough half, which Georgia thoroughly deserved to go into at halftime with the lead. We reassessed at halftime. What we need to do, get back to a bit of basis, hold that ball, a bit more clarity in that set piece, and we were lucky enough to come away with the win. It was a bit of it was more Georgia putting us into that position, and with the way they played and how strong they were, and it was a real credit to them the way they played.
Did you shout at the boys? And if so, if you didn't, how do they respond? You talk about the psyche of Fijians, like we've played with Fijians, and the great Seru Rambini as well. It was just an amazing human, and we miss him a lot. But I always smile when I think about him. I know he wasn't a player that liked being shouted at, and when he was at Leicester, that's all they did was shout at each other. So when you're there, like, is that part of the cultural thing and how you interact? Like, if they're not playing well and you start screaming and shouting, is that where the players switch off?
I'm not a screamer and shouter. I
was going to say.
I think I'm pretty even. I'm pretty even keeled through most things. Go in and you say what you need to say. Look for solutions rather than creating problems. I think that's a big thing, and just trusting in what they know. They have a great leadership group. They talk well through the problems, and I think. Even as a player, the more you get shouted at, the more you it's kind of a way of saying that I don't trust you. So giving them trust and letting our coaching staff give them messages, give them solutions, and then me just trying to calm them down and just say what do we need to do to get through this. And they've been pretty good at just looking at that. So I'm not a huge shouter or screamer. My language sometimes is not so good, but it's not said in any way with aggression. So I like to think I'm quite calm.
I think Jim's just scarred from all the times the coach has shouted at him, so he wants everyone else to be shouted at. But surely at half time it's just about eyebrows, isn't it? You just give the Fijians the head flick and the eyebrows, and they're like, "Yeah, we're good."
Yeah, Weiss has got the press conferences down well. I do all the talking, and he just translates with his eye talk. So
let's fast forward then to this week's game, and then I want to ask about the probable quarter-final against England. But I'm sure your answer is going to be we're not looking any further ahead than Portugal. Portugal have impressed, haven't they?
You know me well.
Yeah, I do know you well. For you, obviously, minimum losing bonus point and you're through, but you won't be thinking about that. Portugal have done exceptionally well for a team that no one perhaps outside of them expected much of until we had Victor Matfield on here, and he was talking about their line-out. So how impressed have you been with them, and what sort of challenges have you got for this weekend?
They've been amazing, and it's not all credit to them. It's not just been this World Cup. We've watched, obviously, since we knew they were in our pool, we've watched all their games, and they play an amazing brand of rugby. Through Petra's largest game, they love to attack they love to get their outside backs who are very, very dangerous, naughty feet, and they like to get them on one-on-one, so they like to get to their width. But you saw against the Wallabies on the weekend, very strong set piece. They were attacking the Wallabies in the maul, put them under pressure in the scrum, got a couple of penalties. So the growth in their game has been really, really good, which is great to see. And they've got some outstanding talents out there. You can just see they play a beautiful brand of rugby. And I think that's why they've captured the imagination of the French public and everyone that comes to watch them, because they're a very exciting team. So we're looking forward to the game, but we understand what the challenge is going to be.
Just finally, before we let you go, we've had a tweet come in, and it's a scenario question for you. So you're in a quarter-final. It's a must-win game. You have to bring in someone that's going to create an impact that could get you through to the World Cup final, semi-final, final. Do you bring in Andy Goode or Jim Hamilton? You played with them both. What are you doing?
He didn't play with me, but he saw me play.
Apologies, Goodey. I'm bringing.
Second row love. You need a 10.
Hang on, wait. Sorry, Simon, just explain your reason, please.
Mate, I ride and die with the Type 5, mate. It's we gotta look after each other. No one else likes us, so we gotta pump ourselves up.
Amen to that. You could have pumped me up a little bit more and said it could have been from charge downs, it could have been from control at line out, physicality. But
no, mate, I know that qualities, Jim. We all those there, but first and foremost, you're a Type 5, and you're my brother.
there we go.
My heart hurts. He was my skipper, Simon Raiwalui. Was it?
Yeah,
Saracens?
well,
I was his vice captain.
I love you, Goodey.
I was genuinely his vice captain for about 3 weeks, and then I got sacked.
Yeah, he doesn't want to take the team down the path of no return. Simon, last question from me. Look, anything we put on Rugby Pass or World Rugby or whatever around Fijian players, it goes viral. I just want to ask your opinion. I don't know whether it's even conversations within your team about like the greatest athlete in your squad. You've got Joshua Tuasova in terms of aesthetically. You've got Lavani Bottia, who for me is one of the top 5 players in the world. Goodey told me about him 3 years ago. Didn't really know about it. Gosh, we know about him
Absolute
now.
Hero.
Who's the one in that team? Not as a player, not as a man, as an athlete. Who's the greatest athlete in your team?
I think Josh is up there. So whenever they're in a huddle, I stand on the outside and I watch from behind what they're saying or listen from behind what they're saying, and normally I'm behind Josh, and he's just an incredible in terms of the shape, calves, quads, all the way up is just an incredible specimen. Another one who is a bit of an Adonis is Lakima Tangitangivalu, the flanker from Po. He's one that. When he comes in the shower, I get out really quickly and put the towel around and so he's pretty amazing. But there's a lot of amazing athletes. So you got Sandy Radradra, you've got Weiss Knight level as well. So they're pretty impressive physiques. Like you said earlier, I'm probably the only Fijian in the world that wasn't blessed with any of it.
You've got a great brain though, apart from picking Jim. Last thing for me then, we've all played with Fijians, and they're genuinely some of the toughest competitors, but the nicest people with it on the field and off the field. Like, they'll smash you, empty your ribs, and then pick you up and say sorry. But they all love a giggle, and there's always that high-pitched giggle going around any Fijians. I played with loads of them. Norman Lagiri over in Breve, obviously the late, great Sarah Rambini, hundreds of different Fijians across the world. How do you control all the giggling? Because it's a natural thing, isn't it? And as a head coach, you can't have 40-odd players giggling the whole time because you're thinking, oh, someone needs to switch on. But it's infectious, but also sometimes
it's like your kids, isn't it?
Yeah,
When
it's
your
like,
kids are
is it
at home.
babysitting sometimes, all these big Fijian, lovable characters that just giggle in a high-pitched voice the whole time?
It's not about controlling it. It's about they understand when they got to work. But one of our values is enjoyment. A smiling, happy, laughing Fijian is a dangerous Fijian. So we promote them being happy. We promote them enjoying themselves. We promote them projecting their culture so for people can see it. So we're very inclusive. We want to include people in what we do, what we stand for, and I think that's why the boys get embraced so much, because it's a very infectious culture and very loving. So, and as you guys probably know, a Fijian house is an open house. So you can knock on a door and you're always welcome. So I think it's one of the strengths, and it's not about controlling it. It's about really promoting it in reality.
Nice. Last thing I'll ask you then: England in the quarterfinal. Are you winning or England winning? I'm horrible. I can't say that.
Yeah, we got Portugal on the week. We got Portugal on the weekend, so really looking forward to that. We'll concentrate on this game, and then it's going to be a huge challenge. So we're looking forward to that one.
That boy, awesome.
Simon, awesome to have you on, mate. Real privilege, and best of luck for the rest of the tournament, especially against England in the quarterfinal. Vanaka.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be on.
Cheers, Si.
Legend.
Absolute legend.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate it, Skipper.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, bud.
Good luck
Thank
at
you
the
very
weekend.
much.
Top lad. Yeah.
My
What
goodness
an
me, that's so good.
absolute legend, apart from him picking you. And that was only because of the number on your back. But no, he's genuinely, and he said it then, like, he is one of the most humble, and Fijians are humble, aren't they? But he's one of the most humble, level-headed, nicest guys you could ever meet. Yeah. When he played, he was an absolute animal.
No better man for the job.
No.
And the reason is, and it wasn't for Vern Cotter. Shake hands, Stern
And
Vern.
they let it go about Stern Vern.
It doesn't work in Fiji.
Romania.
Doesn't work, yeah.
All of a sudden you're Fijian as well.
I've always loved Fiji. Like we mentioned the players, Akapusi and Gara at Gloucester as well.
Yeah.
We mentioned
Sarah
Rambini. Like anyone you've been around with the Fijians.
Sarevi, he played at Leicester.
Yeah, Sarevi played in Hong Kong as well.
Mate,
I was with him.
Yeah.
I was in the Global 15.
Yeah. I mean, they're just the nicest. You won't ever meet a bad Fijian, I don't think. I mean, after a few beers,
that's it. If they get the beers in them, yeah, and that shows you actually how physical they are. Because I've seen some scraps to tell you that.
The
But my point
nicest human beings you could ever meet.
But my thing is on Simon, because he's done the rounds in Europe, so he understands the structures, the commerciality of the game, all of these things. But he's a Fijian, so the culture aspect, which is the number one most important thing, and we see that. And I'm going to be a little bit harsh on Karevi and Kurumbetti at the weekend. This is where I thought I saw the cracks in Australia, was because you've got two players from Fijian descent, and they looked like they wanted to go home.
They didn't like Eddie.
Well, they didn't like it. I mean, Karevi comes on, he's trying to fucking monster people. Kurumbetti was
angry.
He was in like anyone's World 15 a year ago. They look like two players that don't want to play for Eddie Jones, and that was a kind of snapshot of the mindset. They need love, they need energy, and you've got a man at the helm that understands that deep-rooted culture because he is them, but also understands the structures and the kicking and the set piece and all them things. No better man for the job.
What I want to know is Tangi Valu in the showers.
Wow, that's an anomaly then. Is what he is kind of saying.
He's basically
Run for the hills.
It's Mahusive. Pod.
Rugby Pod.